Does the hotter weather change where and when you run? I know a lot of people are dealing with 80s, 90s, humidity. And how much do you run on trails versus on pavement versus the treadmill? I want to get Wendy's answer first, and then we have a couple of responses from our members inside the group. Go ahead, Wendy.
In the past, like probably more when in the early stages of me being a runner and a triathlete, weather may have impacted whether I ran inside. Not necessarily hotter weather, but colder weather definitely impacted me choosing to run inside versus outside because I'm not really a fan of the cold. And since I started trail running, I run mostly on the trails when I can, and especially in hotter weather. Here in Georgia, we've had some heat waves of 90 to 100 degrees, 60 to 75% humidity, so it feels like 105 to 110. I'm going to choose a trail versus the pavement just to try to get some shade. And I'm definitely more of an outdoor runner now with all my years of experience compared to when I started, when I didn't really mind running on the treadmill. For me, currently right now and where I'm training, I'm actually choosing to set my schedule where I can run in a hot part of the day because I'm training for the Ironman World Championships in Kona, and I've done it before. And it can get really brutally hot and humid in Kona. And now that I'm living in Georgia, I can experience hot, brutally humid conditions. And so once or twice a week, I am choosing purposefully to run outside in the heat. And other times I run indoors on the treadmill just when I'm going for an easy 2 or 3 mile recovery run. Sometimes I choose to do that on the treadmill just so I can be entertained by the television. It has nothing to do with weather.
On Elite E Drive, there's a few sections, obviously, where there are some trees kind of over the roadway. But other than that, there's no protection from the weather or elements on Hawaii.
There isn't. And, I've done it 10 times, and I've only had really 1 or 2 times where the heat really got to me. And it was probably my last time I was there. I think that was in 2017 was the last time I was there. And the heat got to me where I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I remember saying to myself, this is the first time running in Kona that the heat is really negatively impacting my mental and physical performance right now. Come on, Wendy, you usually enjoyed this. And I had to do a lot of self-talk to get myself to get back to the ways I've always been, where I thrive on heat and I want to overcome the heat. And I want to be the best mentally and physically running in the heat because most people aren't. But that day, it was just, I don't know if the humidity was exceptionally high and just no wind. And yeah, it can get brutal.
Here's this response from Jay from inside the T2 Endurance Club when does the hotter weather change where you run? He goes, I do, and today was a perfect example. Run where there is as much shade as possible when it's super hot. Today, the ambient temperature during my run was in the upper 90s and the heat index was in the low 100s. Low 100s? Can it get higher than 100? I basked in every shady section of my route, did a 7-mile run and emptied my 2-liter Camelback, took a salt stick, around mile 3.5. That said, it was manageable, but a wee bit brutal. My goodness. Can you relate to those numbers, Wendy?
Yes, because Jay lives in Georgia. He's probably an hour or so north of where I live. And totally relatable. And 2 liters of fluid in a 7-mile run, that's a lot of fluid for 7 miles. I'm going to say the 7 miles is probably most people are going to do between, somewhere between an hour and an hour and a half, depending on your speed. And that's definitely a lot of fluid, but I totally understand where he's coming from because I've experienced that same heat where, it gets to the point where it's dangerous. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast last week or the week before, but I intentionally did a 5-mile run on the track in the open. It was basically an open road, no shade. And that was my intention. And my goal was about 5 miles. And when I got there, I started feeling goosebumps. And that's when I knew I was on the verge of, maybe heat exhaustion. That's a sign of heat exhaustion, not heat stroke. But I'm definitely in tune with my body, and I know how far I can push it and when I need to be done. And the reason I chose the track is because I could bail at any time. My car was right around the corner, parked in the parking lot. So it was one of those things that I just wanted to test how far I can make it at a certain intensity. And my threshold was about 5 miles at the intensity I was. And I'm like, I'm done. I need to cool off right now before I get sick.
Yeah, I find if I have enough hydration, stashed around my route, that I will purposefully go out at the hottest time of the day. And this is the sick triathlete in my head, where I want to suffer. I want to see how long I can suffer in these elements, because it builds my confidence. If I know I can deal
Yeah.
with 90 plus degrees, it's super hot, my body is trying to adapt, that when it comes time to a race, I can, go back in my mind going, okay, I've done this before. I've done it. I can do it again. Or I dealt with it. Or I just need a little more hydration and I'll be able to get through this section. So, and I've raced in some pretty hot temperatures in the past. And just that experience says you can do it. So I go out. It's like I've done a bike ride outside when it's hot, and my wife will say, "This is the hottest time of the day." I go, "Exactly. I want to suffer. I want to feel. I want to push. I want to test myself." But with hydration in the right spots, it's easier. And this is something I got to remind myself of next time. The last two bike rides I went out, it was in high 80s and low 90s. And I got 2 bottles on my bike. Both have the powder of the liquid IV. So it gives it some flavor and it's supposed to help penetrate you, eat better when you drink this stuff. And I go, I wish I would have had 1 bottle of pure water so I can spray it in my face. Because, I get sweat in the eyes, which I've been having a problem lately. I go, no, I can't do that because I get all this sticky, strawberry flavor water in my eye. That's not a good idea. Although I don't think it'll be bad, but it's not going to be good. So just a reminder for myself and maybe for someone else, if you have fluid, nutrition / maybe in your water bottles, keep one strictly water. That way you can splash it on you and not have issues.